We're taking a break from the plaster now, from the inside, because it's spring and I've got a lot of starts in there. We planted a lot of seeds in there, just getting going. But right now what we're going to do today is plant some plants in the pallet wall and in the terraces, the living terraces that are outside, and also some plants on the roof of the seed room. So this is a creeping jenny. Creeping jenny is actually edible. And it's also an evergreen. It stays green even in really cold weather. And we get, minus 20 temperatures here. This is called vinca, and it's also an evergreen. And I wanted things that would stay green throughout the winter because it would make it look more attractive. And so that's part of my plant choices are evergreens and shade tolerant and hardy. So, and this is a hosta. Hostas are edible too, which the shoots, the young shoots that are coming out in the spring, you can eat. And I'm probably going to get some more hostas. And then I'm putting a lot of strawberries. We had ever-bearing strawberries, a mound that I'm transferring. They send out shoots like crazy and you end up with tons of strawberries. So we're moving them around and I'm putting them in the pallets as well. And I'm going to do some bleeding hearts, and we'll do some fiddlehead ferns, which are edible. And not everything will be edible, but there's going to be a lot that is. I put grapes about every 8 feet along this pallet wall. And now realize this is the east, west, and north side, so it's not an ideal location for grapes. But the reason I chose the grapes is because these vines are going to grow up, and then I'm going to prune them and train them so that there's going to be a vine right along the top edge of this wall. And then as the vines come towards each other, we'll intertwine them and they'll pass. And it's going to create like a rope that's going to help to hold this. Of course, we got this wire on here, which also keeps it from pooching out. That there's a lot of, retaining wall has a lot of force against it, and the grapes are going to help to hold that all together. Especially as the pallets get older and the wood starts to deteriorate and rot, that's going to help. I'm really planting a lot of plants in here because I want the root structure and the vines to create a living wall. On the roof, I put some Brussels sprouts. I had a flat of Brussels sprouts that I had started, and I had really no place to put them because my yard is a disaster until I get the outside beds put together, which we're going to be working on next. But I wanted to finish the terrace and the roof first. And then I put some potatoes. Also, I put seed potatoes out, and those will be coming up soon. I've got a few more that I'm going to put in. And trying to mix some food with some other, like we're putting in plants that will attract bees and pollinators and butterflies and things like that, and things for beauty and also food, and mix it up. So today Caitlin's here to help me, and she's actually a Food Corps volunteer, which is a really cool program. It's part of AmeriCorps, and she works within the public school system and putting in school gardens and stuff, and she asked if she could come help, and I was thrilled to have help planting, and so she's going to be helping planting today.
This is my first time here in Michael's project, and this was super impressive. I didn't expect the sheer size of the greenhouse and the terrace. And being out here, it's super inspirational. I work on the school gardens, so it's super small. So I hope I take what I learned from Michael today and working with him, and to bring it back with the elementary school and do some classes in the garden and introduce some of the permaculture topics. So I'm checking to make sure that the plant fits in the hole, to make sure that the stems are about ground level. It's important to make sure to check before you go for it and plant the whole plant. I am filling the dirt back in, pressing a little firmly, not too hard. making sure the roots still have some space and air to grow, but in place enough to where it won't go anywhere.
Planting in the pallets is kind of an interesting thing because you have to find a spot that's going to hold, be large enough for the plant. Some of the pallets are kind of tight together, and so I'll put a smaller plant there, but here's kind of a big spot. And you want the, plants like to have soil against their roots. And what I've been doing is kind of pressing these down to make them a little thinner. Make a little hole here and then push it in. And then I'm going to get some soil, push it around on the edges. And I'll push some down from the top. And then what I'm going to do is take these vines and just vine them around some of this wire. I put this wire here to not only as a structural piece to help hold the terraces, retain the dirt back, but they'll also hold the vines. And so, we can kind of feed these. This is a vinca, and it's an evergreen. So it's gonna stay green even in the winter. So my neighbors are gonna appreciate that in the winter because it won't look like just pallets. I'm confident that this will stay vertical, even with the force was pushing against it. Because we put this cable on here and also the wire fencing that wraps around to contain it. And also on this heavier cable, we put a turnbuckle, and it ties into some redwood 2x4s that are tying back to the other side and clear across they go over the top of the roof in both directions. And that should tie this whole thing together. But this sank a little bit here, and so I'm going to keep an eye on it and make sure that we don't need to add any further modifications. And if we do, we'll have to add something to hold this back. Okay, so there's a little bit of a void right here, but I'm going to put this plant in that void. And then, you don't want to leave a lot of air against the roots. And I'm kind of close to the top, so I'm just going to push this down into that space. And then I'll add more in the top. It's easier to dump it in the top, add soil in the top.
Yeah.
Here I've got a block right here, because here's one of my turnbuckles that I was explaining earlier, and I've got a block that blocks the soil from going down in. So this void, we're gonna have to just feed it in through the pallet. It'll be a little more work.